All right. Welcome. Testing. All right, cool. Welcome everyone to the part 2 of the podcast workshop. We are live here at MediaTech Institute. We're going to get this thing started. Today is the practical side of the workshop. We're going to look at setting up the workshop. We're going to look at subject. We're going to look at the equipment needed, and then we're going to look at some distribution things to wrap up our part 2. So, um, first off, thank you guys for joining. And we have guests with us. We have Pam and we have Izzy alongside in the studio to kind of help assist and get this thing rolling. All right. So, with that being said, we're going to recap last week information, and then we're going to get started as far as the new stuff today. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get this party started. So last week, if you missed it, the video is up. Again, just a quick recap of this. All right. So podcast workshop, how to set up a podcast. All right. When you get a chance, you can watch the video. We can put this slideshow up as well for you to check out. Basic overview of what the presentation was about: planning and executing, branding. How was your brand of a podcast is going to set you apart from other brands. And also with branding, we can look into partnership, right? If your brand has the same message with other companies and things like that, we can bring those companies apart, and you can have different segments that offer sponsorships within the podcast, where you can actually start generating income off of your brand. Then we're looking at the type of podcast genre, right? Is it gossip, gaming, relationship, music? What is your topic? How are you going to fit within the market of podcasts? And then we looked at booking your guests. Um, you know, how far advanced do you need to book these people? Um, what is guests need to look like? What is the stories and how they are tied to your podcast? And then how are you going to bring these things about? And then we looked at the list of equipment, what all the things that you're going to need to get a podcast rolling. How are you going to edit your podcast, things like that, software and things of that nature. And then establishing a setting. What is the environment? How are you going to be? What is your backdrop? What is the overall feel of your podcast, right? And all of that is through establishing a setting. And then how to format your podcast. Do you want it freestyle or do you want it segment orientated? Um, freestyle podcast is where you just free flowing, you letting the topics kind of guide themselves, let the story kind of guide the podcast. Whereas segment orientated, where you have specific time markers and things like that, where you want to move section to section. So we're going to look at those: recording and mixing, how to record, how are you going to mix your podcast, how are you going to get it to the right decibel level to compete in the podcast market. And audio quality, top importance when we're dealing with a podcast, because it's all listening. You can have visuals with a podcast if you want to have add video to it, but for the most part, the actual mix and the high quality audio of your podcast could really set you apart in the market. So you don't want to shun away customers due to poor quality. How to upload your session and where to upload your sessions as well. So let's just get through this thing. Again, we're just going to go through really fast these things to kind of catch up if you did not make the first part, or if you're joining the second one, you watch the first one and you just need a recap. All of those things is why we're going through this. So planning and execution. First thing, have some fun, right? You are doing a podcast. Your podcast ought to be about something that you genuinely like or you are passionate about, or you have interest in, right? So the key piece to it is make sure you're having fun when doing your podcast. All right, that's going to translate well over the system and over through the equipment. Because if you can show you really love doing what you're doing, people is going to be intrigued in that, and they're going to be engaged in it. All right. So when through planning the execution, we're looking at what is the budget. What do you want your podcast to be about? What do you want your podcast to cover? Right? Is it politics, religion, controversial topics? All of these different things are could receive backlash if you go into those, right? If you're going into religious topics, controversial things, politics, it's going to be, you have real polarizing views about those things. So you can get the total opposite ends of the spectrum when dealing with these type of topics. So if you're going to choose those and you're going to discuss those, be ready for that and be ready and well prepared with your information sources and things like that to be able to back your point of view during those things. But you got to be careful on how you present the information. You just don't want to present information that is not backed by credible sources. So you want to make sure that you take care of those. All right. Where can you record your podcast? How are you going to edit? All of these different things is a part of the pre-production phase, right? So all of this podcast is basically just like doing a movie or doing a project in music and things like that. We have the pre-production phase, we have the production phase, and then we have the post-production phase. Same thing. The planning and execution is going to be your pre-production setup. How are you going to set these things up? What is your format? How are you going to navigate throughout the season, right? Even designating how many episodes you want in your season, right? Is it 10 episodes? Is it 12? Is it 15? Totally up to you on how you want to navigate your podcast and things like that. All right. Branding. We have two excellent brands right here, 2200 Taps and Kirksma. These is Pam and Izzy's brand. As you can see, black, really interesting designs. 2200 Taps has been doing podcasts. A recent podcast had over 1,000 views. So it's starting to boom. You're going to see this organic growth happening. Izzy started his podcast while he was in school and had some great traction in going through it. So you want to make sure that your branding is on point when you're dealing with a podcast. Again, looking at branding alignment as well. What is your message in your podcast? What are you talking about? And how can you attract outside brands to be a part of and sponsor your podcast? There's going to be a huge revenue generating thing, right? Sponsorships, ad dollars, these things is going to be huge for your podcast, being affiliated with specific brands, political parties, whatever you want to do. It's going to be huge. So the message within your podcast has to align with the different brands, right? So if your podcast is talking about um, paintings and the richness of 1700 art, then you want to find a historical art place to kind of go along with that. You know what I mean? The where they can sponsor, they can provide some information. You might can get some historians in on your podcast to kind of help seal the deal in your podcast. So all of these different things is very, very important, especially a part of your brand when doing it. The title of the podcast, episode number. How is this going to look to the public? How are they going to recognize your podcast? Is it audio quality? Is it specific phrases that you're doing? Um, Brand affiliation, right? Are you marketing? The name of the host, you know, are you the best representation of your brand? This is great. You know what I mean? Do you look the part? Are you a representative of your brand identity? And if not, what does this profile look like? What do these people look like where they are? So you could find things that they like, whether they like Coke, um, Flaming Hot Cheetos, whatever. Your podcast needs to be in these different markets to attract these different people, right? So you have to build your podcast. You can get that information through the analytics of your podcast. Where are the most people listening from? What are the age range? What is the demographics? What is these things? And you start building your platform from that, right? And at that point, you can have a specific profile that you can target when you're doing paid marketing through like a YouTube or things like that. When you're getting your brand out there and also getting your podcast out there, it can hit the people, right, that you want to filter in. All right, your genre, right? Again, very important. What are you talking about? Sports, love, romance, Christian dating, whatever you want to do. It's totally about what are you doing. Make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure you're interested in it. You're constantly doing research and credible sources, right? When you're going through this stuff, right? You don't want to be a communication channel of fake news and things like that. All right. Jonah talking about it makes us feel better, right? Relationships, sports, video games, it's therapeutic, all right? You can talk about these things run over all day, ask questions, you're intrigued, it boggles your mind, right? You can ask some of the greatest questions in the world, right? So getting the expertise into the chair to talk about, specific things within the genre of your podcast is going to elevate not only your podcast, but also the credibility of your podcast. And also, it should create and generate some epic moments throughout the podcast, and also kind of shine the light into what the artists have done, like in the history, right? Kind of the storytelling thing of kind of where we come from and then where it is today, kind of going into the history and then bringing us forward, right? So make sure your genre is something that you're really passionate about. All right. And because you're passionate about that, you're going to have other people that is passionate about it. So you get to book your guests. What is this booking is going to do? Start with your inner circle, right? This is cool. If you have credible inner circle, like you don't want to talk about, um, expertise matter with someone that's not an expert in it. All right. So while it's okay to have opinions and things like that and have special guests come on, just because of their personality and their way of life and how they think, those things are great. They always could add value to a podcast, but you also want to make sure that you have some type of expert in the mix, just to provide that professionalism for the people that really care about, expert opinions and things like that. Always come up with date and times for your episodes. If it is strategically done, meaning if you know you're going to be every Friday at 12 o'clock, or every Saturday at 1, whatever, make sure that your people are aware of that. If your guest falls through, shake it off and keep going anyways. If your guest can't make it, it is still up to you to have your podcast. So you need to create alternative ways to keep your audience engaged. Always have some backup material to fill in, and then network, right? You got to make sure you network. This is the only way for you to get to link to the people that you want to have access to, is through your network. Your network is your net worth. All right. So you want to make sure that you build a strong network, especially in the topic and the genre that your podcast is in, right? Getting high profile clients, even if they're not high profile, just expert matter, expertise in the subjects, and then cool people, right? They could not be an expert, but the personality could just be really cool, and they can add some color to your podcast. So keep that in mind when booking your guests. Typical equipment that you're going to need, right? Microphone, mic stands, XLR cables, audio interface, mixer, headphones, computer, digital audio workstation, and your personality. Got to bring you, right? We talk about these things. Make sure that you're cool, you're not boring, all these different things when dealing with your podcast. Um, Having a nice voice works too. I work with Albie a lot, and he doesn't sound like the way he talks on the radio, but every time we get on the radio, he's like, "Hey, this is Al tonight on the midnight run." He totally changes his voices up when he gets online. I be like, "Bro, who is this man talking in my ear right now?" It's ridiculous. All right, different microphones. We got two types of mics. All right, we have dynamic mics and we have condenser microphones. For the most part, for podcasts, we typically use dynamic microphones. Condenser microphones are super sensitive to high frequencies. They can pick up a lot of room tone, things like that. You want a nice, clear sound. So dynamic microphones, because of how it's made, is magnet wrapped in coil. So high frequencies um, tend to take a lot of energy to push the move the magnet, so it doesn't capture as well room, right? So most of the time people think of microphones as like this eye, or whatever you're pointing at the microphone at is what it's going to pick up. That's not necessarily the case. It'll pick up the room as well. It's more like the sounds. It picks up everything, right? So when you think about microphones and your choices, dynamic mics are really good. These little blue little Yeti microphones, the USB power mics, those are cool too if you're just doing, single person podcasts to connect in. But my favorite is got to be the Shure SM7B. Um, this one over here really likes this podcast, this microphone for podcasting, and in general, I create sauce chains with the SM7B. It's amazing. So if you get it some, got enough money, get that Shure SM7B. And Shure need to pay me for this plug. So if you're watching, pay me for that. All right. The Zoom recorder, right? It has microphones on it and stereo, right? Space pair, kind of got on the XY pattern here. They also have mono and omnidirectional different pieces that you can detach and attach on specific Zoom um, handy recorders. All right. So you can either go DAW based, mixers and microphones and all this stuff, computers, or you can go microphone directly into hard disk recording. All right, through something like a Zoom. So totally up to you on how you want to navigate your equipment. Obviously, the more guests you have, the more inputs you're going to need. So if you got a panel of four, your two channel Zoom is not going to work. All right, you're going to have to figure out another situation to get all four of those microphones in, or have people share microphones, whichever way works. Is for you to get a high quality podcast is what's going to be needed. Microphone types, again, USB powered, hard disk recorders, all of these different things, dynamic microphones, condenser microphones, ribbon mics, whatever you want to use. High quality podcasting is the goal. High engaging content, really amazing stuff is what we're going for when we're dealing with podcasts. Equipment cables, balanced and unbalanced cables. All right. How do you know it's a balanced cable? Because it got three contact points. See these little dots right here in this XLR? This is a male side. These are pins. This is a balanced cable. Notice right here, this is an unbalanced cable. It's only got two contact points. So this is unbalanced. But here we got three contact points. One, two, three. This is a balanced side going into unbalanced. So whatever type of cables you're going to need to get your podcast connected. This is the beauty of coming to MediaTech Institute. We're going to tell you all about these cables, all about routing and signal flow, so you guys can make the right connections to get your podcast rolling. All right. Today we're going to be sharing information. We're going to do two different types of podcasting. We will create an episode, little small little episodes that we can do, show you how to distribute. We also going to show you how to connect to a external Zoom, and then also how to route into the interface going through Pro Tools. So we're going to see both of these different techniques today in podcasting. All right, audio interfaces. This is what you're going to need. You're dealing with a computer. You're going to need some type of interface to get your mic signal into the computer. All right. So you got power mixers. Some of these mixers have actual USB ports on them where you can do the left right channel main out going directly into your DAW into the computer, and you can record the 2-track. Even though this has multiple outputs and inputs on it. So we got 4 mic channels coming in here, but the outputs, we got main outs, USB port. So we can have 4 different microphones. We got our panel of 4. We can route our panel of 4 in here, blend the microphone signal on the console, and take that USB signal out into the computer and just record the 2-track. The downside of recording the 2-track like that is once you establish your balance, that's what you have. You can't go in and make adjustments to the levels unless you're doing like clip gain, but all of the audio is going to be embedded with each other. So if you want total separation, you're going to need to come out um, 4 channels. So you're going to need, maybe main, left, right, and then these alt 3 and 4. You can use those as well and route those using your mixer to specific spots. Notice you have your alt 3 and 4 here. You can designate which ones you want to go out 3 and 4. You'll need some more connections to get this going into the computer some type of way. So totally up to you on how you want to navigate it. We have the Scarletts where you got 2 inputs. The Scarletts can go anywhere up from like 2 to 16 channels. So if that's what you want. Any questions? No? None? All right. We're keeping this party rolling. All right. Zoom recorder, recording in the computer, in the DAW. Again, these are just the equipment overview. We're going to look at these things in depth. All right. USB microphones. All right. Going directly into the computer, into the DAW. That's another way you can do it. Medium and casual. Microphone into the audio interface. Oh, you guys getting expensive. So bougie over here with this, all these interfaces and DAWs and stuff. I really like that you guys put Pro Tools right here. I'm so glad like a Logic symbol or something right here, Garage Band or something. So happy that this is the Pro Tools. I know Wes Martin is hating it right now. Oh snap! They're giving me a pre-warning that is another DAW coming up. Oh snap! I wonder what it is. It's gonna be something like a garage band or something. It's gonna be something like ridiculous. I already know it. I can tell. All right, equipment overview, microphones, equipment, computer. They got mixers, cell phone. It's just ridiculous now. You're advanced. You're bringing in high quality people. You got all these mixers and going on. These guys is top tier. All right. So when you start doing advanced, we need pubs, we need all type of sponsorships and all this other stuff when it's coming into this thing. So y'all make sure you know at MediaTech, we're able to get you directly to the advanced level. When you come to MediaTech Institute, we're gonna bypass all of these USB microphones. We're gonna get you right. All right, come to MediaTech. It's gonna be amazing. Look at this audio wizardry. I like it. The audio wizardry, double computer. Oh my lord. We in here. We got cell phone information. We're doing research. We got two computers. Formatting on one side. We're recording the audio into the DAW. It's amazing. We're doing everything. Audio wizardry. Put on your School of Hard Knocks hat and go at it. This is Harry Potter at his best. All kinds of wizardry going on. Any questions about that? None? All right. We continue to roll. All right, location settings. Location setting is so key. All right, we can't be talking about, Kool-Aid pickles in a pumpkin patch. Location is so key. If we're gonna be talking about Kool-Aid pickles and how amazing Kool-Aid pickles is, first off, if you haven't had a Kool-Aid pickle, I don't know what they've been doing with your life all this time. So you want to make sure you get the right Kool-Aid pickle. All right. If you buy Kool-Aid pickles in a pumpkin patch, the location setting is wrong. All right. So location setting is so key, especially if you're going to be doing video as well. How is this set up? You can do it. Can be in homes, it can be in garages, offices, studios, whatever. Right? As long as it's aesthetically pleasing to your audience, you can totally create a vibe. So location is really going to set the vibe of your podcast. In addition, if you go into a empty hall with parallel walls, you're going to get a lot of reverb. With that being said, you need to be aware of the treatment in your room and how your podcast is going to sound inside of that room. All right. So you might have to look at some diffusion, might have to look at some dampening materials or something. But if you're going furniture, of course, right? Easy mentioned, right? Putting the right furniture in the right spots, could really bring the aesthetic of the room, but also the quality of your podcast to a whole nother level. So location is very, very, very important. Lighting is important if you're tying video with your podcast for like a YouTube streaming and things like that, right? So if you're going live aspect with your podcast, with the visuals, location is even more important. You want to be a Republican at the Democratic National Convention. It's going to be crazy. All right, your format shows you an idea on how to start to finish. Freeform, block to block. All right, some things are planned, more natural conversations, from one script to the other, more of a show, right? Freeform or block to block. I like freeform podcasts with some structure though. Like it just can't be totally just on the whim like the whole time. We got to have specific structure within it, but then let the conversation kind of carry the podcast, and hopefully the conversation you can craft it to where you can mold the conversation into the next segment. Right, that is the key piece to your podcast. Is how are you going to get this talkative person, right? Because when you start letting people talk about themselves and their ideas, they can just go. All right. So how are you going to navigate these individuals to let them be free forming, but also guide them into your next block, right? So it's totally up to you on how you want to be creative about that. That's a part of that's going to make your podcast stand out on how you navigate these particular people. Because I'm telling you, you start talking about some specific stuff and people just go on a rant. And although that makes for great content, you got to be able to reel them in. So how you do that is going to be based on your creativity. Digital audio workstations. Where are we going to edit these things? Where can we pull in audio and do the most effective editing? None other than my favorite DAW, GarageBand. How dare oh, put this on here? It was a plot. It was a setup. I knew what it was. I felt it in my soul. They knew they was gonna do this to me. I knew it. GarageBand. What is these symbols they have over here? Pianos and organs. All right, if all you got is GarageBand, have at it. Learn your DAW. Be efficient in your DAW. What it takes for you to edit and manipulate. I highly suggest the one on the left. But if you just so happen that you can't have access and you don't have access to Pro Tools, GarageBand will work, right? Editing on whatever platform, even Logic. I know. Even Logic, you can edit your podcast and be great. You know, here at MediaTech, we teach Pro Tools because it is the industry standard. So they say I like Pro Tools because that's what I started with and that's what I learned. So most people love what they start with, right? If you start in Reasons, you're gonna love Reasons. You start in GarageBand and you learn it effectively and efficiently, you're gonna love GarageBand. If you start in Logic, you're gonna like Logic. All that to say, it's totally up to you on how and where you mix your podcast, and what DAW, digital audio workstation, you mix in. You just want to make sure that you balancing everything out proper and getting it to the right levels when you're doing your mixing. All right, these are all of your DAWs. Notice which one is first, though. if we're looking from equipment, I don't know. Even FL works. I love FL Studio as well. Ableton is cool. You know, what is this Audacity? Oh my God, is that still relevant today? Is that out still? Oh man, and then Adobe Audition. People use Adobe Audition a lot, especially in radio and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna be like, use whatever DAW you want. Be amazing in your DAW. Edit proper. Make it seem fluid. Sometimes when editing too, people stutter, right? So it's gonna be up to you on do you want to get rid of those stutters, especially if it's just a pure audio podcast, right? If you're doing pure audio podcast without the visuals, some people like to take out the and things like that when dealing with their podcast. We ran a podcast for several seasons. It's called Get in the Game with Fat Pimp and Kiki J from 97.9. She was at K104. Now she's at 97.9. And we ran our podcast for several seasons. And we had some of the top industry people come through on the podcast. And so with Kiki and Fat Pimp, they do a lot of so I had to go through and I actually took those out and blended it to make them sound more legible over the podcast. So it's totally up to you on how you want to manage your editing. If you got someone that stutters a lot or use or you feel me or you know what I'm saying, take those things out. Nobody want to hear you know what I'm saying like 300 times in a podcast. All right. So totally up to you to keep it natural, make it sound fun. All of those things are done in the editing process. So if you can edit really well and make it sound fluid, go for it. If your podcast is an hour and you're editing your podcast, you could totally take up 2-3 hours just editing, listening to it over and over. It sound fluid. Listening to our podcast several times could be really mentally challenging. So drink a lot of coffee or do something to make you relax when dealing with it. Formatting your podcast. Formatting your podcast is basically the structure. It's just like a song, right? How are you going to navigate the listener, pull the listener through your podcast? Intro music. And you have the intro, then question one, right? Question one is always like the icebreaker, right? It's always to get the blood flowing within the podcast. And then you get into question two, and then add bonus questions as they come arise. And then, based on this structure in this segment, we have a music break. All right. We're going to do some music. Then question three, outro music, take notes. And this is, totally up to you on how you want to navigate it. Today we're gonna do something similar. We're just gonna have maybe intro music, question one, question two, and then outro music type deal. All right, for our segment. So we'll build those things over time. You can format your shows however you want. So true. If you want to go straight to music in the question one and ask one question and talk about it and then be out, it's totally up to you on how you want to do your podcast. We can't tell you how to do your podcast. If you want to have a 5 minute podcast every day, have at it. You know, your listeners be grateful. If they show up 5 minutes late, they're gonna miss your whole damn podcast. I don't know. It's gonna be great though. They can watch it. All right, ask for feedback. It'll help you out. Seriously. Don't forget to ask for feedback. How can you make your podcast better? What do your customers and your clients and your listeners want from you? What do they like? What do they don't want? What do they don't like? What do they want changed? What do they want adjustments? Right? At the same time, you still got to look at your profiles and what do you want to do in the podcast. You don't want to go too far into what the consumer want that is going to take away from your overall brand powership or your overall quality of your show. So while feedback is great, definitely take it, grow from it, but also maintain your idea of your content and what you want for your podcast. So many links. Here's some links, some interfaces, some DAWs, some microphones, all of these different things. Have at it. What an upload. Oh, yes, Lord. Spotify, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, podcasting, apps, and Apple. It doesn't matter where you want to grow, where do you want to grow your base, right? What platform do you want to grow your podcast family? You can do all of them. You can focus on one, you can focus on two, whatever it is. Figuring out where to upload is going to be crucial into where you're going to be establishing your base. Where do the people that fit your profile, where do they listen to the podcast? Right? Is it in Mixcloud? Is it in Spotify? Right? Do you go to all of them? It's totally up to you on how you want to do that. Um, for us, we just give you the information. All right? Aggregators, Buzzsprout. Let's look at Buzzsprout. Podcast hosting and a whole lot more. All right. Look like we got this old advertising here. All right. With that being said, let's look at some prices. 2 hours free, $12 a month. You get all this other stuff. $24 a month, advanced stats, unlimited storage, unlimited team members, import podcasts for free, and you can add the magic mastering for $12 a month. Oh man, get started for free. There you go, guys. Reboots. So, Buzzsprout is a great aggregator for you to use to distribute to multiple platforms. Here's a list of a lot more. So, we're just going to pause right here and let you guys take a look at these. Hit the pause button on your video when you're watching this thing. Check us out. Any questions? No? None? All right. Thank you guys so much. This is our recap. So, with that being said, we are ready to start our practical. We're going to do a 10-minute break. We're back in at 12:45, and we're going to get started. Are you guys ready? We're excited. We're going to format this thing. We're going to talk about it once we come back from break. I'm going to set them up in another studio for cook-ups. So we'll be back in a minute. This Apple support they talking about. Showcase? Oh, just right. I'm gonna kill this one. Unless y'all want to log in from your phone. Share right here. All right, we are back at. Thank you guys for joining again. This is part 2 of podcast workshop. We went over part 1 briefly. We're now in part 2. In this segment, we got Pam and we got Izzy, and they're going to connect. We're going to be using 2 SM7Bs, our favorite microphones, going into a Zoom recorder, and then we're going to take that information and then go into transfer that into the DAWs to show you what this looks like. So we're just going to use our XLR cables going into. So Pam and Izzy, you guys want to talk us through this thing?
As neatly as possible, because if you have like 4 5 people, like the cables can get chaotic, so you may want to keep the cables as neatly as possible. So Pam, where are we going to connect this to?
What's up, guys? It's your girl Pam. Hey, we are gonna use my Zoom 6, my personal Zoom 6 recorder. Oop, here you go. All right, it has the head, but we're not gonna use that. We don't need that, but we have the ports for XLR cables on both sides. Yep. So I'm gonna turn it on. Now, one thing you want to make sure if you're going to use a Zoom recorder, you have to format your card. Make sure your card's formatted, brand new card, and then also there's a few more steps into that. I won't get too technical, but just know this is where we're going to be putting the wires from the XLR cables, and we're going to hit record. Okay. So it's super, super simple. Izzy, you want to hook up? So Izzy is hooking up to channel 1. There's 4 channels right now, and hook me up to channel 2 real fast. They are numbered. And the really cool thing about this particular Zoom recorder, I'm going to pull these wires off to show them. The cool thing about this recorder, you see that digital meter right there? Those digital meters? You're 1 and 2, right? As soon as I hit 1 and 2, oh, this is horrible. Anyways, I could see my levels when we start talking in these microphones. So go ahead. Woo. All right, go. All right. So what I just did is I just adjusted our gain with our gain knobs. And with the SM7Bs, they're dynamic, so we really got to boost it up a little bit. And I was able to see where I'm at. Next up, I'm going to put some cans on some ears, hook it up into the Zoom recorder. That way, monitor as we're recording. That's really our setup, guys.
Sweet. So just to recap, they went XLR, a regular XLR cable from the microphones into channels 1 and 2 into the Zoom recorder. All right. Once they got into the Zoom recorder, they told the Zoom which channels they wanted to record from by hitting 1 and 2. At that point, they set their levels, and now they are ready to do their podcast. Pretty simple setup, right? A Zoom recorder, 2 microphones going in. Make sure the hard drive is plugged in and formatted. So we have a external hard drive, maybe SD card. Pam, what typically the size of the SD card that you typically want to use when dealing with the podcast?
I mean, enough to, I have a 32 gig in there.
Okay.
And that's going to be fine.
All right. So yeah. 32 gig minimum on the SD card going into the Zoom should get you enough for the for per episode of your podcast.
All right. Go ahead and talk, Iz.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Hello. Welcome to me.
All right, cool. So all I did was double check my levels with my cans. I put my ears. I hooked it up to the Zoom recorder. I spoken to mine. It looks good. Izzy spoken to his. It looks good. I'm being mindful of the room noise. I'm being mindful of everything else. Squeaky chairs, all that fun stuff, and And we're ready to roll.
Cool. So now, before we get started, let's talk about the format of your podcast. Okay. Typically, how would you guys format your podcast for something like this, like a real small segment? What would that format look like for the people that's looking at maybe like a 5 to 10 or 15-minute podcast, 15 to 30-minute podcast? What would their structure look like for that?
Me personally, I'm a freestyle podcaster. So I'll have some intro music because I love music and I want to capture you in with the music. I do a quick intro like, hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam, 22 Taps. And then we dive right into like what our topics are going to be or what we just talked about. And, you know, we literally get to the point like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. My guest, introduce the guest, and then they come on and then we just go. Okay. And then also real quick with the Zoom recorder, you can see how long you're recording for. So I use that as a gauge on how long I've been on recording and how long, like, if I have an hour segment or 5 minutes, I can see it visually here without having to be like checking the watch or anything.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good visual.
And do you use those visual reference for specific time segments? Are you are you block to block with your podcast?
Yeah, I'm block to block. If it's like one-on-one like this, it'll be more like an interview style.
Oh, okay.
I'll have like at least 3 questions already made. I also have notes. So if that individual has a brand or a product that they want to promote, I'll let them have that segment to promote it. And then, yeah, pretty much I just want to have a start to finish. That way I could keep it within 45, 50 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. If you guys do visual podcasts, do you allow them to bring their merch and stuff in and kind of talk about that during those different and things like that?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Sweet. All right, cool. All right. So for this, we'll structure it. Once we bring it in, we'll put some intro music on, and then we'll let you guys take over. I guess I could be like a host or something, maybe. Or you guys have some questions.
I mean, if you want, totally. So yeah. I'm gonna. Do you want to hook up?
Oh yeah, let's hook up another mic in there.
We can do this. We can totally do this. This is how fast we can do this, like on a dime.
You want me to go get one?
I'm just gonna use this one.
You know what, niggas? Here. You don't even need a mic. Look, I got
we got the other one. Okay, cool. All right, that way Carrie won't be pissed off.
Again, guys, this is how fast it is. I'm putting my top mic on for you.
All right, so we're going stereo microphone as well into it. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Amazing. Thank you guys for joining.
Are
you guys ready?
All right, we put recording.
All right, we are recording live. This is how easy the podcast could go. What are we talking about? All right, we're going to talk about the state of podcasts in the streaming era today. All right, so first off, thank you guys for joining MediaTech Podcast Workshop. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Nagaris Johnson, and this is the MediaTech Podcast Workshop. We have special guest Pam. We also have special guest Izzy, right? 2 podcasters who are doing their thing in the podcast realm of today. So first question, how has podcasting affected you guys' life? And we'll start with Mr. Izzy.
Oh, man. It made a tremendous impact on the knowledge that I received, especially because what I like to talk about is relationships, and I never really had a dad or a brother to grow up around. So having like male guests with their knowledge on their relationship, it kind of like shifted my perspective.
Awesome. Pat, what about you?
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health, and this podcast has really allowed me to help give other people a safe platform to share their stories. Really traumatic stories sometimes, and how they've been able to overcome it, how music has impacted them, which is really what we're getting after, and to share to people literally around the world. It's nice. It's really cool.
Awesome. So you guys both talked about bringing in different perspectives into the podcast, right? With a streaming platform, how do you think podcasting into streaming is affecting society as a whole? Do you think people is gaining a lot of information from podcasts and kind of shaping their narrative as they go through life? What do you guys think? We'll start with Izzy.
It definitely is. It allows people to be heard and feel like they're valued a little bit. it gives that platform where literally you could put knowledge on the table that some person might need to hear a specific day and be like, oh wait, I remember hearing that on the podcast. I could use this for my daily life.
Nice. What about you, Bill?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, it's all based on like the content too, right? If you're listening to quote unquote fake news, is it really doing something for you? Or stuff like what Izzy talks about, or what I talk about, or hell, even Joe Rogan, right? What nuggets are you going to take away? And I feel like people that have uncensored, especially I have an uncensored podcast, it's raw and it's real, and it can really strike somebody in a way that they didn't know they needed, in a good way.
Awesome. So final question in this podcast. Do you guys listen to a lot of podcasts? And what are some things that you take away from other podcasts that you kind of mold and kind of use in your podcast, if anything? Or is it all just like, I got my own baby and how this is how I do things? All right. This is Izzy.
I certainly took some notes on some podcasts. I remember I recorded Pam on one of my podcasts, and I had like questions about relationships, but I had it in a little note, and I'll right under the mic stands. And by one, I'll let people reveal the questions, and we just have to talk about it.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. All right, that's cool.
Yeah. What was the question again? Brain of a goldfish,
yeah.
man. Sorry.
Are you listening to other podcasts,
yeah.
and are you taking things and kind of making them, honing them into you?
Honestly, I don't listen to podcasts.
Okay.
I don't. I was blessed, like I said, Izzy had me on, and that's what actually started this podcast for me. I was like, there's no way it's that Izzy. It's that easy, right? And it really was. And once I found my passion and what I really wanted to talk about, it just became, I say easy, but it's just a conversation.
Right.
But I don't listen to podcasts. But one thing I will stay true and I won't change is the fact that we're going to keep this very unfiltered. Because people need to hear this stuff, right? I was about to,
sure.
See that. So yeah.
Awesome. So again, thank you for attending the MediaTech podcast workshop episode. Thank you guys so much. And again, keep podcasting.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So,
all
right. So we just completed our podcast. We are going to upload these things and show how does these things look into your editing DAW and things like that. So let's transition these things. So we're going to take some time. We're going to take our SD card. We're going to navigate it over and get this thing going. And I'm going to launch some Pro Tools and we're going to get this thing yapping.
I have a 64 in there, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. And we can do this one, and then I can share my screen from over here. I don't even have to do that. Ooh, good catch.
You like that?
All right. So we have the SD card slots into our computers over here. Launching Pro Tools. Everything else starts. All right. So we're going to pull information from our SD card, and we're going to drag it into Pro Tools. So what I'm going to do is share so we can see this process. All right, launching the tools. Maybe.
Oh, go to folder 1.
Folder 1.
Go all the way down to 91.
Zoom 91.
And there you go.
There we go. All right. So as you can see, we are accessing the hard drive, the SD card. We're in folder 1 and all the way down into the Zoom 91. As you can see, Pam does a lot of podcasts. She's rich in history here. All right. So we got microphone 1, 2, and then the left, right, which was my microphone in the stereo. We're going to drag all 3 of these files into Pro Tools. So launching Pro Tools, we have specific steps that we're going to teach you in Intro to DAW, right? Checking your iLock, make sure it's connected. Step 1, launching Pro Tools and setting session parameters, naming your session. So this is going to be Podcast Workshop 1. All right, we're going to do a Command P to prompt for location, 2448. And then we're going to hit create, and then we're going to save it in our proper location. which we'll put in the student drive, student Pro Tools, and we'll just drop it right here. Save it. All right, then Pro Tools creates it. All right, and then a part of our setup process is going to set up and checking our playback engine, make sure we're connected to the right thing, we're connecting the right interface. We're going to be doing some mixing, so we want our hardware buffer size set at the highest setting. If we're doing recording, we want the lowest. So we're got mixing, so we're doing the highest setting here. We're hitting OK. Now we're ready to import. We go to File. We can import audio. There is shortcuts for this, but I just want to give you guys the step-by-step play. Folder 1, and then we're going down to folder 91, and then we're going to take these 3 files. Always copy and convert, never add. All right, just take it, my word for it. And we are bringing our podcast into existence, into the DAW. Actually, new tracks. Yep, we can bring it in new tracks. We're ready. All right, so let's look at these waveforms. Here we go. All right. It's definitely working. It's coming out. Oh, it's coming out over here. Sorry, guys. Affected you guys' life. We'll start with Mr. Izzy. All right, and I'm going to.
It made a tremendous impact on the knowledge that I received, especially because what I like to talk about is relationships, and I never really had a dad or a brother to grow. Their relationship, it kind of like shifted my perspective.
Awesome. Pam, what about you?
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health. And this podcast is really to help give other people a safe platform to share their stories.
All right, so now you guys can hear the audio as well. Looking at our waveforms, we're just going to balance this thing out. I'm going to boost this up a little.
All right, we
are recording live. This is how easy. All right, so now formatting our podcast, we need to import some audio, right? We said we're going to go intro music, go into it, and then we're going to have outro, and then outro music. All this good stuff. So putting a song into our podcast, right? We're just going to find some material. Again, recording your favorite podcast theme. If you're a musician, creating your own theme song would be great. But we have some stuff here. We should have, let's see, Pro Tools sessions. Oh, let's go up. Pro Tools examples. We got a music library, and we're just going to grab this looping music bed. Perfect for a podcast. Perfect.
In the country.
Nothing like some organic, good soul Texas music. All right, so we're gonna let this thing play right at 15 seconds, and then we're gonna edit this stuff out. So, you know, we're gonna put a nice little fade going into it to get the listener ramped up into this thing. Live. This is how easy the podcast could go. What are we talking about? All right, we're going to talk about the state of podcasts in the streaming era today. All right, so first off, thank you guys for joining. All right, here we go. So we're just going to take this whole piece out. We don't need all this jibber jabber in our podcast. So we're just going to take all of our stuff. And what I'm doing, I'm going to clip group in Pro Tools. So you're going to do Option Command G to clip group. Instead of me moving one individual piece at a time, I can move all of these things at one time. All right. So now I'm treating my complete podcast as one file. So as we end the end of this thing, first off, thank you guys for joining. And we're going to start this into the end and fade this out over the music. So we kind of get this kind of nice little intro feel to it. So we'll fade out the music, but also kind of get a nice little fade in to the talking pieces. First off, First off, thank you guys for joining MediaTech Workshop, Podcast Workshop. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Nagaris Johnson, and this is the MediaTech Podcast Workshop. We have special guest Pam. We also have special guest Izzy, right? Two podcasters who are doing their thing in the podcast realm of today. So first question, how has podcasting affected you guys' life? And we'll start with Mr. Izzy.
Oh man.
All right, and again, we're just doubles, making sure everything is cool.
Especially because what I like to talk about is relationships, and I never really had a dad or a brother to grow up around. So having like male guests.
Now we got more questions for these guys, right quick. So, are you guys adding compression and EQ to your podcast? How are you guys navigating this thing when you're going into mixing? Are you keeping it natural sounding? Are you actually going in and processing your podcast?
I keep it simple. I EQ, and just to take the low end off, the mud, kind of brighten the vocals a little bit depending on what it sounds like, and then I will boost it with the. I'm so horrible on the spot. This is the distressor plugin. I'll actually up the game and get it to where I want it, and that's it. That's really it.
Sweet.
I use a full-blown VMR Slate Digitals. I EQs, use the VMRs to boost up like the compressor on it. Use the channel strips on there. I really bring out the brightness and everything. And yeah, I'm an engineer, so I just go full-blown engineer.
Yeah, Izzy is actually mixing in this joint. He's doing side chains and reverb, filtering.
Yeah. Izzy taught me the VMR Slate, so that's actually what I'm using.
Sweet. So. And for those of you guys, VMR's virtual mix rack, it's a Slate plugin. I'm not sure if we have it here on this one. Not on this particular computer.
No.
They don't care about us that much.
Channel strip works fine. Basically.
Channel strip. I'm a Pro Tools stock I'm a Pro Tools stock person. So for me, I love the channel strip. You could definitely get some work done with the channel strip.
We'll start with Mr. Izzy.
Oh man.
So this red ball is Izzy's volume right here. This line when you want the actual to start compressing. So right here, just give it some control. This is how much it's reducing. And then we can just make up gain, clean it up some more.
Oh man, I'm super passionate.
And I'm just gonna option click and give that the same information to Pam.
It's really allowed me to help give other people a safe platform to share their stories. Really traumatic stories sometimes, and how they've been able to overcome it.
Now, what you also could do is take away this information from the other segments of the podcast when you're editing. So I'm going to come back into Option Command U to break these up. So, like for instance, when Pam is talking here.
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health.
You could remove this section from up here to just keep it cleaner.
About mental health. And this podcast.
Now, what you want to do if the other person is talking in between these things, you will want to keep that information. But when like Pam has the floor here, there's no. We're just really listening.
Really, what we're getting after, and to share to.
So we can get rid of that on both of these, just to keep the podcast a little cleaner. Awesome, Pam. What about you?
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health. And this podcast has really allowed me to help give other people a safe platform to share their stories, really traumatic stories sometimes, and how they've been able to overcome it, how music has impacted them, which is really what we're getting after, and to share to people literally around the world. It's really cool.
So like, we could edit and make Pam like where she.
People are literally around the world.
Kind of.
And to share to. People are literally around.
We can close that gap, right? So we can go to shuffle mode. But when you're in shuffle mode, you got to remember to go across all three.
It's to share to.
Right. So we want to get rid of some of this and kind of bring that closer. So cut across all three, and everything will be adjusted to.
People are literally around the world, and to share to people are literally around the world. It's really cool. Awesome. So you guys both talked about.
You know what I mean? So it can kind of have Pam just making it seem like her thought process was fluid, like there wasn't a flutter there. right? So you can edit those things in that type of way. So this is just an example of how you can edit your podcast. And these are some of the things that I do. Again, people edit different ways. Some people keep all of this information in, right, and just keep it natural. Maybe add some gates or something there to like push the noise floor down. The narrative as they go through life. Totally up to you. What do you guys think? But like, yeah, definitely. See this, all of this is double in the microphone, right?
It gives that platform where literally you could put knowledge on the table that some person might need to hear for a specific day and be like,
but
wait,
the whole point of like doing that across all three. Oh yeah, it's ready now. I mean, it's there. What do you guys think? What's up with
it? Yeah, definitely is. It allows people to be heard and feel like they're valued a little bit. It gives that platform where literally you could put knowledge on the table that some person might need to.
What do you guys think? What's up with Izzy?
It definitely is.
Compared to people literally around the world.
Yeah.
It's
that's
really
why
cool.
I cut across all three, so it actually shifts everything.
Stuff like what Izzy talks about, or what I talk about, or hell, even Joe Rogan. Take away, and I feel like people that have uncensored, especially I have uncensored podcast. It's raw and it's real, and it can really strike somebody in a way that they didn't know that they needed, in a good way.
Awesome. So final question in this podcast. Do you guys listen to a lot of podcasts? And what are some things that you take away from other podcasts that you kind of mold and kind of use in your podcast, if anything? Or is it all just like, I got my own baby and how this is how I do things? All right. Izzy.
I certainly took some notes on some podcasts. I remember I recorded Pam on one of my podcasts, and I had like a
it's crazy that y'all both reference the same podcast.
A little note. I'll put it right under
the podcast that started Pam's career.
By one, I'll let people reveal the questions, and we just have to talk about it.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. All right, that's cool.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Are you listening to other podcasts, and are you taking things and kind of making them home? Like, no.
Honestly, I don't listen to podcasts.
I don't listen to podcasts.
I don't. Izzy had me on, and that's what actually started this podcast for me. I was like, "There's no way it's that easy." There's no way it's that easy, right? And it really was. And once I found my passion and what I really wanted to talk about, it just became, I say easy, but it's just a conversation.
Right.
But I don't listen to podcasts. But one thing I will stay true and I won't change is the fact that we're going to keep this very unfiltered. People need to hear this stuff, right? I was about to see how to like. So yeah.
Awesome. So again, thank you for attending the MediaTech Podcast Workshop episode. Thank you guys so much. And again, keep podcasting.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right.
Appreciate you.
So,
all right.
So you dressed up.
Appreciate you. All right.
So we were slightly under time, 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's good.
All right. So great, time on our podcast. Got it together. Did some nice editing here. Let y'all see this full screen. All right. So again, just chopped out some stuff. Here, we had some talking in between, so I left it going through here. So like, okay. So it was like me having some like back and forth down there. So we kept it doing that section. But yeah, anything you guys want to add about editing? Maybe some stuff that you guys do that you could share with the viewers.
I can show a screenshot of how typical my podcast is.
Okay.
So that way you can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, real quick, like with this, I would slap an aux track and a master. Just to see where my levels are, my true levels, and then what I'll do just for that little sauce, that secret sauce that I've learned from the tape rack machine, I'll throw that on there just to kind of brighten it just a little bit more. And before I really push it out on platforms, I'll go listen to it in the car and all over the place.
Yeah.
Just
So
to make
routing
sure.
wise, she was saying go ahead and create a aux, kind of like a mix bus. To where everything funnels into, and then our master fader is our true meter going to the speakers. Start with Mr. Izzy.
Oh man!
So you can see we have a lot more headroom here to do. She was saying that she'll put the tape machine on here. Maybe no tape machine today, just because.
And if we don't have Slate like we do tomorrow, then
we definitely got it.
Yeah.
that's weird. It's weird.
It's we have it on this computer. This is
Broadcasting.
Got
it.
On this one. So we'll just we could use a limiter to kind of push it up. Maximum is always great. That's what I like.
Made a tremendous
And just bring your threshold down. I would like to set my ceiling to like 0.3.
Relationships,
and we can talk about more advanced stuff as far as levels.
Like
podcast
with their knowledge on their relationship, it kind of like shifted my perspective just a little bit.
Awesome. Pam, what about you?
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health. And,
see how cleaner that got?
Has really allowed.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Izzy.
Oh man,
I guess like the double feed. So
it made a
rid of
tremendous
that
impact on the knowledge that I've received, especially because what I like to talk about is relationships, and I never really had a dad or a brother to grow up around. So having like male guests with their knowledge on their relationship,
you can get rid of that low end too as well. That's what I found.
Awesome.
Pam, what about you?
Oh man, I'm super passionate about mental health, and this podcast has really allowed me to help give other people a safe platform to share their stories, really traumatic stories sometimes, and how they've been able to overcome it, how music has impacted them, which is really what we're getting after, and to share to people literally around the world. It's really cool.
Awesome. So you guys both talked about bringing in different perspectives into the podcast, right? With a streaming platform, how do you think podcasting into streaming is affecting society as a whole? Do you think people is gaining a lot of information from podcasts and kind of shaping their narrative as they go through life? What do you guys think? We'll start with Izzy.
It definitely is. It allows people to be heard and feel like they're valued a little bit. It gives that platform where literally you could put on the table that some person might need to hear for a specific day and be like, oh wait, I remember hearing that on the podcast. I could use this for my daily life.
Nice. What about you, Ben?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, it's all based on like the content too, right? If you're listening to quote unquote fake news, is it really doing something for you? Or stuff like what Izzy talks about, or what I talk about, or hell, even Joe Rogan, right? What nuggets are you going to take away? And I feel like people that have uncensored, especially I have an uncensored podcast, it's raw and it's real, and it can really strike somebody in a way that they didn't know that they needed, in a good way.
Awesome. So final question in this podcast. Do you guys listen to a lot of podcasts? And what are some things that you take away from other podcasts that you kind of mold and kind of use in your podcast, if anything? Or is it all just like, I got my own baby and this is how I do things? All right, this is Izzy.
I certainly took some notes on some podcasts. I remember I recorded Pam on one of my podcasts, and I had like a questions of relationships, but I had it in a little note, and I'll put it right under the mic stands. And by one, I'll let people reveal the questions, and we just have to talk about it.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. All right, that's cool.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Dang it, Pam.
Brain of a goldfish. You're welcome.
Are you listening to other podcasts and are you taking things?
Like, yeah, I know what it is. I know what it is.
Honestly, I don't listen to podcasts.
Okay.
I don't. I was blessed.
I got a question. Would you guys add sound effects right there in your podcast? Like,
No.
you know, sometimes it depends.
It gets annoying.
Yeah. Little buzzers and things like that, like round of applause. We have like things on cue when we're doing podcasts.
Maybe we'll get to that point.
You know, not right now. Not right now. All right, so we're gonna pull this up. This is basic structure. We're gonna bounce this out real quick. We're gonna go ahead and bounce this out. So I'm just gonna do a shift return. Everything is coming out of 1 and 2. Option Command B. Pro Tools workshop file. We're going offline. We don't want to hear. We're gonna add MP3. Just bouncing it. Cool. All right, this is going to be our file that we're going to upload. We're going to look at some screenshots of Izzy's podcast,
and what his podcast look like, and then we're gonna transition over to Pam, and she's gonna we're gonna look at how to upload our podcast to the different platforms, and then that's pretty much gonna be it, guys. Unless these guys have some more awesome information they want to share with you guys. So I'm gonna hand it over to Izzy and let him pull up these screenshots and stuff like that from his computer.
On spot check.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, you go directly in there?
Hook it up to the computer and use your phone.
Dang, I didn't even know they had that on the side.
Even like with your cell phone. Yeah, the 4 has it too. Your cell phone. Put it in.
I have the cell phone piece like this, but it's the actual ball one.
Okay. That one you can do it too.
That's the Omni.
No, you can't do it on this one. Yeah, man.
Like
for
interviews
phone,
and shit.
and then while I'm hooked up, I can just put my charger so the phone don't die.
That's impressive. These gadgets, I tell you.
And I'll take the scratch audio from the Zoom call out, and I'll re-import the audio that I just mixed.
Oh,
So
for
it's
real?
super clean on YouTube. Thank you, MediaTek.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah, this thing is.
Let's go to guess. I have the screenshot, but I can pull up the session
The actual
itself.
session? Oh, okay, that's cool.
All right, so here I have the tracks color coded and labeled out. So I have host here, guest 1 through 4, a simple aux input, mastered along with the print track as well if I wanted to print it out. This is the very first one. As you can notice here, the music is on top. I usually have about like a minute or so until the actual tracks, the actual people's, yeah. If over here, I have a EQ, a simple compressor right here to brighten it up, VMR, along with de-essers, because there's a lot of S's in people's speeches, and so you want to take that harshness out of the frequencies, or out their vocals. And then usually I have stuff routed. I believe I was beginning to learn how to routing at the very beginning, so I have the routing a little wrong here. Usually I'll have 1 second here. Let me fix it right now. This is how it's supposed to be, right there. So now all these channels right here are routed to the master sub, and I believe this is right before. I don't have the VMR now, but usually I'll have a VMR here, just to keep everything, the dynamics leveled out towards the master fader, and that's about it.
Sweet. Let's see what this podcast sound like.
Alrighty, I'll show you clips of it. Start
Is the one that I was on, or is the one you were?
Oh, this is, I think I was like third.
This is with Lydia.
That one.
Okay.
Didn't I come in that one?
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and just skip on to the
Great podcast music.
lo-fi hip hop.
Little lo-fi. Especially if you want to listen to this when you're cleaning up or something. Perfect.
Oh, master fader is coming through the actual print track. So let me just mute it here.
All right, to Indian Radio. This is your host, Casey Manso 18, and we're doing a
Yeah, your voice came across this thing.
It's been a while since I last been on air. I did a little
It's
more
like
over there,
nighttime
but it's all
podcast.
right.
Pleasure.
It's been a while. I'm here at MediaTech Institute, last semester here. I really enjoy it. I love the education that MediaTech brings, and I'm over here accompanied by several peers, classmates, and colleagues here. I want to give a shout out to Tracy for doing a wonderful job here at MediaTech. You know,
Yeah,
just
she's
keeping
throwing
culture
weed now.
alive
It's great.
out here. What we have here on the guest, as a guest here, we have Rigel, who's a graduate here at MediaTech in 2018 and 2019. It was 2018 actually. Okay, 2018. Hey, give it up to Miguel. Yeah, man, Miguel's here.
Golf clap, snaps for all.
And following up with Miguel, we have the one and only Produce the South.
You know what I'm talking about?
The Gary's John.
You can catch me on thegary's.com, NAGARIS.com. Check us out. What's happening?
So notice here, I kept everything. Everyone's talking amongst each other, but I kept it. Usually I have the VMR, the compression, along to control the dynamics, so that way no one's overpowering each other. Everything sounds in the box instead of out the box. So yeah, that's pretty much it here. You'll see some great spaces areas here, and I'll just keep it within 40, 45 minutes.
Sweet.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right. So you got more music in a break or whatever? You do like different like sections and breaks and stuff?
Yeah, I'll do, I think for this one I did music, question, and then outro. So
okay.
yeah, that's pretty much it there. You'll see a music right over here, which I have the tracks for it. And then just to finish it off, question number 3, which is the main point of the podcast, and then ending, just to cool it off.
Sweet. Cool podcast.
All right, thank you.
All right. So next up, we're gonna take what we did today. Pam is gonna walk us through uploading.
Uploading. We could actually keep it uploaded and then go back and stream it on Spotify to see what it sounds like on a new platform.
Okay, yeah, that works.
All right, guys. Thank goodness it's only a 4.5 minute podcast episode. I got plenty of time for this month. All right, where are we at?
So the bounce file is in the student drive and the student and then workshop one.
Student drive.
Bring up the final window back. Then student Pro Tools session and workshop.
Where are we at, man? Over here.
Bounce files.
We'll do an MP3 just because it's quicker.
Okay.
I like the WAV files though. All right, that should be it. Where is it? There it is. Okay, cool. And we're sharing this screen, right, Nagaris?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, what I'm gonna do, we talked about Buzzsprout. I'm actually gonna get onto Buzzsprout, log into my own personal account. We're gonna upload this episode that we did today. And I'm going to leave it on there for a few days. That way you can go and actually listen to it through Spotify and iHeartRadio and all that fun stuff. So give me a second. All right. So I'm going to log in. Like I said, I have my own personal account. I love these guys as a third-party aggregator. All right. How about a never? Holy crap, 123 downloads? What?
Wow. Oh yeah.
I just released 4 days ago.
Going viral.
Oh, I need sponsors. I need sponsors. All right. So, wow, that's news to me. You know what? After we do this, I'm going to show you my analytics. That way you can kind of see what we're talking about with that. So, okay. So when you log in to your aggregator website, in this case, I'm logging into my Buzzsprout account. I want to upload that episode that we just did, right? So we're going to go to upload new episode, right? Did y'all see what I just clicked on there? So, right, screen, big green box, upload a new episode. Check it out. Drag your audio file right here. You can choose, but it's going to make you go through all your steps to find your file, but we just put it on the desktop, right? Let her rip, baby. Okay. Episode title. What did we want to title this one? MediaTech
Podcast workshop.
Podcast
Workshop session.
Sesh. Okay. Episode description. 5-minute. Talk about everything podcasts. All right, you see, guys, but in your case, you would put your title, whatever you chose for whatever you wanted it to be, and then the description. Now, a big thing about the description is if you use music, right? I have a song that's royalty free, but the only thing that they ask is that we credit them. So this would be the field where I would actually put their information and credit my musical artists. I would also put like what we talked about, a brief, quick little summary of what we talked about. And then if I ask my guests, where can people find you? And they give me their personal websites or whatnot, I'll put the websites in there as well. So that way it's all ready to go. Okay. So we're gonna do www.mediatech.edu. That's the website, right? Okay. All right, season. We'll just say 1, episode 1. Actually, we'll do this. 4, episode 1. Full. And check this out. Explicit content. This episode contains explicit material. Did we curse? Did we talk stuff that's probably not suitable for kids? Anyone under the age of 18 or any adults that you would think are children? So you want to click that. And check this out. This is your magic box right here. When do you want to publish it? Do you want to leave it unpublished? Publish immediately? Schedule for future. What I'll do is if I have it set for like, I don't know, Monday at midnight, I will schedule it for that time. That way it drops. When I'm asleep, it'll be on all major platforms by the time I wake up. Because iHeartRadio, like, it doesn't upload right away to iHeartRadio, I've noticed, but if you give it at least a couple hours, it'll be there. So if I drop it at midnight, I know without a doubt it's all going to be there come morning time. All right. And that is it. See, success. Your audio file has been uploaded. Okay. We're going to publish this one immediately. And if you're following us live, I want you to check out Spotify in about 10 minutes.
Do they give you the link?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can copy the link over and put it in the chat.
Yeah. So here it is, guys. And also, if you're like, oh man, I made a mistake, I need it. Like right now, I'm looking at the artwork. It by default is going to go to my profile picture. But with like my buddy Claude here and with Taya Kyle, I wanted their pictures. So if you're like, man, I got to go back and re-edit it, just click on the title, go to edit, scroll down, and right here, choose custom artwork. That's where you would put it. Okay. Save and up, and you're good. Now check this out. I didn't even tell you about this, Nagaris. So we just did this episode, but right here, let's go back to our episode so you can see where to find it. So when you sign in, remember that home page that popped up? There it is right here, okay? Click in there, create a visual soundbite. That visual soundbite, you can set what time you want to start it, for how long. So let's just, I don't know, let's go about here. Let's go about 30 seconds in. Okay, let's preview it.
In the podcast realm of today. So first question, how has podcasting affected you guys' life? And we'll start with Mr. Izzy.
Okay, so that's 30 seconds in the podcast. Okay, and it'll be a 30-second preview. Or you can do a 46-second or 40-second, or it's a 15-second. So basically, it's going to be a teaser for your audience. All right, sounds good to me. We're going to continue. Again, your art, this is all on you. Boom, boom, boom. Create my soundbite. I'm not going to do that for this one, but when you create it, Buzzsprout is going to send you an email with this soundbite in it so you can upload it to your Instagram or Facebook or something and get your audience wild up for this next episode, which is really, really cool. So that's all I have with that. I'm going to leave this up for 2 days just so y'all can go back and reference it. But I guarantee you, if we go to Spotify right now, are you logged in? Spotify.com.
You could do open.spotify or play.spotify.
What's that? See, everything's already open for me. Easy knows the shortcuts. There it is. Okay, cool. Thank you, Iz. All right. So you saw how we just loaded it, right? Now we're going to go under a podcast page, which is right here. And it's not uploaded yet, but I guarantee you, give it another 5 minutes, it'll be there. Yeah, give it another 5 or 10 minutes, it'll be there. So just be patient with it. That's why I say I uploaded at midnight, and by the time morning hits, everything, it's on all major platforms. So that's really it, but where is it? My profile, resources, websites, directories. If you go to directories, these are all your platforms you can be listed on through Buzzsprout. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so forth, Stitcher. Everything that says get listed means I have to go in there and manually get me in there. But automatically, you're going to be on all these down here, CastBox, all the big ones. I'm already listed on these that already. Pandora. I'm actually on Pandora. I'm actually on Amazon Music. I'm a little parched. Yeah, so Buzzsprout is amazing. That's it. And then stats, I can go to my stats and all-time stats. I'm going to go to my locations, all episodes. And like I said, I just started this when COVID hit. But look at all my countries. I'm in 17 now. Holy crap. 15 just a few days ago, but now I'm in 17. But I could see like where everybody's like, people are listening. Washington, Nevada, so forth, Chile, Turkey. It's nuts, man. So as you can see, this is starting to take off. I'm going to log out. That's how easy it really is. But now it's up and ready to roll, and y'all should be able to stream it. Like I said, in the next 10 minutes or so, get on Spotify and check it out. Leave me a comment. That's all I got for you.
Awesome. Good job.
Cool. All right, guys.
All right, people. So, podcasting at its finest, how to upload, how to connect, all of those different things. So, with that being said, we are done for the day. Thank you guys for joining this podcast. Again, you can rewatch the videos, look at some different things. Go check out the podcast on the Spotify. Give us a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe on all of this good stuff, right? MediaTech Institute. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Pam. Thank you. Make sure you guys check out that podcast. If you guys want to, go ahead and plug that real quick. Let's make that happen. So where can we find more about you guys' podcast?
You can find me at kurama.com, KURXNA. Correct, but it's all good. Yeah, you can find reviews, literally kurama.com/podcast.
Sweet.
You can find me at 2200taps.com. I'm on all major platforms for podcasting. The website itself will take you straight to all available resources. That's where you can find me.
Awesome.
And on YouTube.
And make sure you check out MediaTech.edu, www.mediaTech.edu for all of the social media stuff that we got going. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all this good jazz. You can follow me at Nagaris. And I produce this off on Instagram, but www.nagaris.com, Nagaris.com. We're going to be bringing more workshops your way. The next one is Pro Tools Shortcuts. So you guys want to get to campus and come be a part of this thing, we welcome you. With that being said, again, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast workshop today. And like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification to get more stuff from MediaTech EDU. Bye-bye. We're outie. Thank you.